Hi, my name is Jessica Burchett, and this is my final project presentation for writing about video games, which is an English class I took for spring 2024 semester. And my project is basically an expansion of my design concept, which is Between the Pages. It is a game based on books. So a little about the game. I guess the lure would be, have you ever grieved when closing a book? Is having a book hangover for those who are not familiar with the book world lingo, I suppose. Have you ever wished you could continue with the story? Do you relate to characters more than people? And finally, do you want to go on an adventure? And that's kind of a allude to, of course, The Hobbit. Um, Do you love your job? I mean, do you get up in the morning with a smile on your face and energy to go around before you've even had your coffee? That is usually not the case with the adults that I know. Maybe, maybe you're watching this and you happen to have a job that you love and adore and has you pumped when you get up in the morning, but that is usually not the case. Chances are you wish you could hide in your company's attic, if your company has an attic, which they probably don't, but still, with a copy of The Neverending Story by Michael Ende. Or that Gandalf would offer you a contract where he could not guarantee your survival, or perhaps that a tornado would whisk you away to Oz. I'd like to, of course, give thanks to our professor, instructor, Dr. Liz Miller, and my classmates from English 2367.08. So a little bit about the game. The concept was a person, the initial character, heading home from work, and they run into construction. So we've all been there on our way home from work or on our way to work, and there's a delay. And they try to find an alternate route home. And on this alternate route, they see a library that they haven't seen before, and they decide to stop in. The librarian is quirky. I haven't quite gotten the librarian's part in the game down yet, but they do play a part. And this person, they're wandering around the library and they end up in like the far dusty corner, and they pull out a book, and it's a law book. And it doesn't belong where it's at. It's in a different section than it belongs. And when they pull out the law book, it opens to our favorite mystery concept, is the secret room behind the door, the bookcase, right? So it opens up to some stairs, and the stairs go up into another room with books on the shelves. And when they pull the books off of the shelves, this is when they're transported to the stories that are in the books. It's supposed to be a really expansive game, and I'm not a gamer, which I've said many times in this class. I'm not a gamer, but my oldest son, Nicholas, he is about to be 21. He played this game called No Man's Sky. And the concept of it, I remember it because it sounded interesting, being able to explore different worlds on different planets ad infinitum, ad nauseum, and all that. So I was kind of basing this off of that. Like, it would keep going. Like, there wouldn't be an end to the books. Of course, I know that's probably not possible, but that was what I had in my head when I designed it. Um, I don't want it to be 8-bit. I put the 8-bit in because I'm old, and when I think of games, I think of 8-bit. um, but they pick a book off the shelf, and then they have the different options. So, like the Toymakers by Robert Dinsdale, they get to choose their player or be themselves. The object is to craft magical toys while avoiding the impending war outside. If you've read this book, you know that it blends concepts of magical realism and fantasy and fairy tales with this really brutal and realistic portrait of war that's going on outside the toy store. Um, balance credibility, morality, and survival. Gameplay is crafting, moral choices, and whimsical challenges. Now, I did put in some music in this. A lot of these are going to be artists that I am really impressed with. And so, like the beginning, I was thinking it could be A Million Tears by Trees of Eternity in this one. And the credits song are going to be the only ones that have lyrics to them. The song I chose for the Toymakers is Riata by James Paget. Of course, The Hobbit. We can't have a game about book worlds without The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. So in this one, you play Bilbo Baggins. Of course, you help the dwarves reclaim the Lonely Mountain. It the gameplay themes would be exploration and puzzle solving. So each one of these games, each one of these books are going to have their own separate games and their own separate ways of beating them. So whether it's problem solving, puzzles, fighting, etc., they're all going to be different. Obviously, they're in different worlds. For this one, I chose Alizbar, Dwarves, Songs, and Hobbit Holes. It seemed appropriate. Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. The game would be Elvish Quest, and you would play Samwise Gamgee. For this one, I chose Brunuhville, Song of the North. I love this song by Brunuhville. I love Brunuhville just in general. Their music is phenomenal. But this song in particular is I think probably my favorite by them. Night Circus by Aaron Morgenstern, magical realism pertaining to, I guess it's a YA novel. Yeah, it's a YA novel. It's this magician, he takes in an apprentice and pits her up against another magician's apprentice. Of course, these two foes end up falling in love. It's really interesting. I adored the book. It was really fun. So this game would be the spectacle. Of course, you'd play Celia Brown, which was the main character, and the circus is so fascinating. Like if you've read the book, you know the beginning. The circus comes at night, comes without fanfare, yada yada. I don't have memories, but it's a good beginning, and it's got that childlike wonder at the beginning. So like you have the chocolate mice, which I know could be parallel to like the chocolate frogs and Harry Potter, but it stood on its own, and I thought it was a phenomenal book, which is why I included it in the game. For this one, I chose Peter Gundry's A Nostalgic Dream. The Neverending Story, of course, can't have that missing either. So the Quest for Fantastica is in here. I chose another Fairytale by Faolan. Um, we have The House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. Now, this one was, I really, really wanted to include this in the game. I just had a really hard time determining how. So I actually went to AI for this to help me out with the potential gameplay for something to include The House of Leaves. So it said the 5.5 minute hallway. Um, and it gave me the concept of survive the 5.5 minute hallway, which really wasn't helpful at all. But I'm still gonna go with it. I haven't really fleshed it out. Of course, I don't know anything about coding. I don't know anything about creating games. So this is just something that I did for this class, and it was incredibly fun. I wish I had thought this more out. I wish I knew how to create these fantastic games, because I think this one in particular would be the most challenging for me to really get down. um, if you've read the book, of course, you know Navidzin's house is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. But there's also other stories in there. You know, you have Johnny Truant, you have Zampano, the old man who died with his 80 cats, who left the Davidson record in his apartment when he died, and of course Johnny Truant found it. So there's a lot of levels to that book, and I think it would be interesting to see somebody try to create a game out of it, because it was interesting to see the book that came out of it. For this one, I chose Damien Escobar, his song Phoenix. Damien Escobar is a violinist. If you haven't heard of him, I really recommend you go check him out. Lindsay Sterling isn't the only violinist out there, and while she is absolutely magical and phenomenal, she's not the only one out there. So go check some more of them out. Um, All Systems Read by Martha Wells. Now, this is the first book in the Murderbot Diaries. I absolutely loved it. I identified with the Sec unit on so many levels because he's snarky, he's sarcastic, but he also has severe social anxiety. But he also has these kind of moral dilemmas. He doesn't want to care about the humans, but he can't help but care about the humans, and they're always seeming to get themselves into trouble. It's a phenomenal series. They're really tiny books. I love them. For this one, I chose Nigel John Stanford's Solar Echoes. Of course, Alice in Wonderland. Everybody's familiar with Alice in Wonderland. For this one, I chose Adrian von Ziegler's Dark Overture. This one was a hard one to choose a song for. Adrian von Ziegler is another one of my favorites. Him and Brunuhville, and I just talked about Damien Escobar. Like these are artists that are just absolutely phenomenal, and I could totally see them being included in video games if they haven't already been. I'm not aware of like a lot of video game soundtracks. I really messed that up there. So, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. Of course, this is the Narnia series. A lamppost and a wintry forest. I couldn't not include Narnia. It's like The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings for me. So, for this one, I chose Nox Arcana's Wintergate. The Nutcracker and the Mouse King, which is the story that was originally inspired the Nutcracker ballet. Um, the realm of the Nutcracker would be the game. This one I think is the only one that I included two character options. So you could either be Marie, which is the little girl who went to the realm of the Mouse King, or you could be the Nutcracker Prince. And for this one, I chose the song "Dark Winter Hunt" by Tales Under the Oak. Tales Under the Oak, they're really interesting because I haven't fully done any research on them at all. So not just fully, I haven't done any research on them at all. But they have some songs that start off with like tale telling. So I'm almost thinking that they're part of a story. Like their songs are part of a story or something. Maybe a game. I don't know. They're interesting. Um oh, the Secret Garden. Okay, so Secret Garden, there was I think it was BBC. I think it was BBC that did um a version of the Secret Garden, a movie. It had an older actor that I can't think of his name right now. So you can you can tell them all because I'm forgetting things as I'm trying to tell you them, and they're slipping off the tip of my tongue and just going into the nether. But it was my favorite version of the Secret Garden. I can't watch any other version of the Secret Garden. It was one of my favorites. But you can't have a good book collection without Secret Garden, and to me, you can't have a good game about book collections without Secret Garden. For this one, I chose Enaid's The Secret Garden, which was a gimme. Um, Peter Pan by Dan Barry. This one is The Fairy's Flight. And for this one, I chose Nightwish's The Last of the Wilds. So Nightwish is a Finnish symphonic metal band. If you haven't heard of them, they are absolutely amazing. But they're not normally instrumental only. So just be aware, like if you go listen to The Last of the Wilds, most of their songs have actual words to them. So um, thanks for playing. Thanks for imagining playing with me. Hopefully this allowed you a bit of fantasy and adventure, some escape from the heaviness of reality. And for those of you who work in offices, you know we need this a lot. And for my ending credits, I wanted to have Crying Heart by Remedy. So I hope you enjoyed this. If anybody out there wants to make this a reality, feel free to do it because I will never get around to learning the things that I need to learn in order to make a game. So how about it?